You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 47.
Episode 47. Well, this is kind of a different episode because sometimes I'm playing more poker and sometimes you're playing more poker. Every session we're covering, we actually played together. So we got to see all our good and bad missteps for both sessions.
Right, absolutely. I guess, do you want to kick it off?
I can go ahead and kick it off. I will say, the last 2 weeks, just great upswing. A much-needed upswing, because it is, just nothing seems to go wrong on these sessions, which is pretty good, because it was running kind of bad for quite a while, for a little while at least. So this session is one that me and you both played at Legends. We get in there, and I'll kick it off. With a 3-bet hand, I end up with Ace-King, kind of calls, someone raises to 20, I think there might be one call. I make it 80, and there's one caller. The flop is 997, I bet 100, hoping to take it down. He calls, and I'm not really loving it, but then the turn comes, and it's a king. Usually I'm betting here, but I'm trying to think of everything that he might call with on that flop in a 3-bet pot, and it was almost always pocket pairs lower than a king. I take a weird line here and check. What do you think of that?
Well, I like that it has a good theory. My problem is every time I seem to slow play Ace-King or something, I get burned. So, I'd probably do it down bet.
That might be good here. I was just kind of hoping to maybe get a little bit more added value, because a lot of the things the main thing he would be calling, and it would be my miss of Ace King, in which a turn is just at that point looks so strong. At that point it looks like I have aces, kings, queens, or now I've got at the very least like queens or jacks or Ace King. I check, he checks, river blank. I bet 100, hoping that turn check gets me paid off, but really doesn't. But he folds.
Yeah, I guess you can check for deception, but it's still a king, and it's still all over your range, so.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to get a little tricky with it, but, he was one of the very few solid players at that table. He's kind of that guy a little bit to your right who was pretty deep stacked. So, yeah, he saw right through that, but, no, I'd much rather hit and it be obvious and me win the pot than me not hit and just lose. But yeah, this session, you want to talk about play a hand probably really badly and get paid off. So it's a straddle pot to $6, and it's like several $6 limps, and then a guy makes it 41 over the straddle. I have ace-8 of diamonds. And this should definitely be a fold for $41. But the thing is, it's not a 3-bet, and he's going to open pretty large when it's a $6 straddle. Was probably way too loose of a call, right?
So what was your holdings?
Ace-8 of diamonds.
Okay, and so it was 666. Did you put the 6 out?
I had not put the 6 out.
Okay, then he bumps it up to
41.
Depends how deep you are, right? Anything can be justified based on.
I don't think it was this deep enough to justify this at this point. But either way, I call and 2 more call.
Okay.
The flop comes ace-9 jack with me hitting the ace with an 8 kicker. So in a 3-bet pot, not in a 3-bet pot, but a heavily raised pot. A little nervous. Late position, and he checks. Late position ends up betting 100. Another player goes all in for less. So it comes around to me, and this is one of those. This is exactly where you kind of deserve to be when you play Ace 8 for a big raise.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this is. Do you have a backdoor diamond draw even, or?
I think I do have a backdoor diamond draw.
I mean, that's very minuscule, but I mean, I'm thinking right here is where the hand ends.
Well, if I'm playing this ace this way, if I hit this ace, I feel like I'm calling one street, at least. And now, I mean, he bet 100, but you got to think it was 41. It was into 162. So 262, I think the guy that went all in had maybe 65, 70. So looking at 100 to win 330 with top pair. I go ahead and make the call. I just feel like it's too weak to call on the fold on the first street. I mean, everything's been horribly suspect about this hand.
Yeah, I was like, with this justification, you probably shouldn't call pre-flop then.
I mean, yeah, probably. You're not deal. The turn is an 8. This hits me right dead square in the middle of the forehead.
At this point, you fall out of your chair.
Pretty much. I go ahead and check. I mean, he raised. He's got the betting lead. I'm just going to check, and he puts me all in. Of course, I snap call. And he shows ace-king. And the other player had 8-9, who turned 2 pair as well. And I scoop. So those were the two, kind of deciding hands of that session for me.
So really, you drilled a 2-outer on him.
3. Oh, wait, no, the guy had
Yeah.
8-9. Whatever.
Yeah, still deserve to get paid.
Yeah, if I'm going to drill the 2-outer, I'm getting paid there. Like I say, not the best of played hands, but I don't know. Like, at first I was like, ugh, I played that badly and just got lucky. But then I was like, I have had like 5 sessions where I played amazingly and then just gotten killed by bad beat after bad beat. If at some point it doesn't turn around here and there, well, I mean, then this is going to be unprofitable for me to play.
Yeah, okay, they're going to say that you thought about it and you're like, it was good. But okay, I'm glad to hear that.
No, not justifying the play, just definitely not feeling bad when it's happened like 7 times, like 8. God, I can't even count to the times to me, so I was happy to get it. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, like I tell everyone, whenever if you get aces versus kings that hit a king, I mean, you put bad beats on people all the time. I mean, you don't remember them, but they happen, and that's just part of the game.
Yeah, it was so it was great. It ended up being a really good session. So, and I don't know, the Legends is kind of growing on me. The only thing I don't like is those tiny ass little Diet Cokes. If I'm paying $1 for a Diet Coke, quit giving me a sippy cup. But outside of that,
yeah. Well, I mean, my session was basically, I had a pretty nice fold whenever I had top pair. No, I had 2 pair, and then the flush came in on the river, and I folded, and he showed the rivered flush. But I had played like 3 hours straight before that, and played pretty solid and built up a pretty good stack. And man, so I made the right fold at the time because I bet 100 and I got check raised to all in basically. But I mean, I was so annoyed after playing for 4 hours straight, play this one hand, make the right fold, and then now I'm right back to being stuck like always the last few weeks.
I mean, yeah, but I tell you what, I was really glad to see you make a good fold like that. I mean, it seems like this downswing, a lot of it's been just calling, knowing we are beat for the both of us.
I mean, definitely hasn't helped.
Yeah, definitely not going to help the hourly. So I mean, I don't know, you were tilted, but I was pretty impressed by making a disciplined fold. I mean, yeah, when the flush comes in, it should be like, well, yeah, of course you're going to fold there or whatever. In the moment, you could talk yourself into a lot less.
Oh, well, and I played with that guy a bunch, and I know that he can overvalue hands.
Well,
because we ended up playing with him yesterday too, but I played with him a lot, and I definitely know a lot of times you have to call, but I feel like when he goes all in, one of his leaks are he'll bet small when he's bluffing, and when he goes all in, he has a nutted hand to him.
Yeah, I can see that. I saw him do the same thing several times, especially yesterday when we played. I mean, we'll cover that in a minute, but yeah, but still a very good fold there.
So I was at that point just very annoyed. Because I was like, I finally was, I got ace jack like 3 times and drilled it all 3 times. I was like, I was up like $400 and now I'm right back to being down like 50. I was after that hand.
Yeah.
And then this was one of the, I had two more hand defining sessions. It was 6-7 in a 3-bet pot against a guy who had been 3-betting me the whole night. The flop came, it was deuce 3-6 or deuce 3-7. I guess it doesn't matter.
It was deuce 3-5, wasn't it? Wait.
Well, I had top pair.
No.
Yeah.
It was deuce 3-6 because I remember thinking, I was like, if Tyler's trying to rep 4-5 in this 3-bet pot, it's gonna be pretty tough. Okay. Yeah.
So I had top pair. I do remember that. And then, so this guy had been 3-betting me, but then, so here's one of the things that kind of, one of the hands that I played back at him because I happened to hit a decent hand. His cards got flipped over by another player who was trying to like put his big blind out or something.
And this was a hand previous.
Yeah.
Right.
Because this guy had 3-bet me just, I mean, it must have been like, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but we played for several hours. So like 6 to 10 times.
Which is weird. I never even really, I did not realize it until the end of the session. Like when you were telling me like kind of the dynamic that was going there.
Yeah. And it was never a big 3-bet either. It was always for like 2.5, 3x, stuff like that.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And then I ended up raising him on one of the flops, and his cards flip over. He has 8-3 offsuit in a 3-bet pot that he's 3-betting me.
I thought, like, I didn't see this hand. I was very shocked when you told me because I knew he was one of the few 3-betting at the table. I didn't realize, but he wasn't 3-betting so much I would ever put that as something he was 3-betting with. I mean, just very weird to me.
I mean, every time I put money out, I got 3-bet by him.
Huh.
So, I mean, I caught right on. But, so I see this flop. I have top pair, and I'm thinking there's no way he has anything here other than over pairs, is what I was thinking.
Right.
So he bet, and I check raise him. He had bet small. I check raise to like 75, I think.
Okay.
And he calls, and I was like, "Wow, that's not great." The turn is a jack. He checks. I bet like 250, I think.
Okay.
Was that right? 250, you did.
It was a lot. No, I think it was. Yeah, it was like 250. Yeah, I think that's right.
I was about to say, can't be much more. I don't have much more money left.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it was 250.
So I bet 250, and then he ships it all in. I'm like, wow, I'm done. So I fold.
Yeah.
I mean, and then now I'm short stacked, and well, I guess we can talk about that hand, right? I mean, we had already.
Yeah, there's a lot to kind of go over on that hand. So I didn't realize the dynamic that was going on there. I mean, all I knew was I was like, oh god, this is getting big. There were several ways I thought this could have been played, and several things I thought you did pretty well. But the big thing, like when he 3-bets, because it was only was it 2 or 3 times? It was a small 3-bet, I remember.
I think I made it 20. I think he made it 55.
So I liked the call, especially with y'all stack sizes of 6-7 suited. I thought that was just fine. You flop top pair. I think you could go 2 ways with this. You can check call, and that's perfectly fine. Let him bluff with ace-king and all of that, and kind of keep the pot a little bit smaller. I don't mind the check raise either. I mean, if he has ace-king, he has ace-queen, and he's ace-jack or something like that, I mean, you're protecting yourself against equity that he might turn. Because, okay, he's going to get there 25% of the time against you. I don't mind the check raise. But once he calls, I think you're just done here. Because, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough to hold on when somebody check raises you with ace-queen, ace-high. Especially, yours was not a small check raise.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. I mean, I think the give up was probably the smart move, but I was annoyed from folding earlier and figured I'm going to knock him off this hand.
Yeah, you were still tilted on that flush hand, it seems like. So, and that's just, like, it's weird because that good play actually kind of built up into this.
Well, it was also, I mean, I'm tilting the fact that, I just played solid for 4 hours, got sucked out on, now I'm down, and this dude keeps 3-betting me about 8 times. I mean,
I won't lie, you sound tilted right now from
yeah. I mean, it wasn't just the one play. It was the
Yeah.
accumulation of every hand I open, I get 3-bet. The one time I play this hand where I hit 2 pair, the dude rivers the flush and then tries shipping it. I fold, right fold, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, you've been losing the last 2 weeks.
I mean, you're definitely hoping on that, once you're kind of have that run up or whatever, to kind of end that, you definitely want that to be a positive session there.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it was kind of accumulation of things.
Yeah, it was so that one was pretty tough. I think that's just tough in No Limit Hold'em in general, though, too, is that you can play solid for 6 hours and kind of go off the rails for 2 to 3 minutes, and it's just like all wiped out. That is talk about a mind fuck of an emotional game.
Yeah. And then basically the ending hand was I had ace queen suited. I had ace queen of spades. I think I made it. Did I open or was I in the big?
I think
I opened. The other guy shipped it for 60 because he was super short stacked. The other guy called the 60, and then I went over the top.
that sounds very right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went over the top for it was probably like 260, 270, or was it like 290, something like that.
It was in that like mid 200s range, so something around there.
Right, and the guy thinks forever and a day about if he wants to call this because he likes his hand, or whatever. He calls with 10 jack of spades.
I mean, obviously, in this guy, it was not shocking at all because this guy had been just betting and just doing all kinds of crazy shit. So, not shocked at all to see Jack 10 of spades here.
Yeah, runs out to him hitting a straight and me going home. So,
yeah, well, I actually liked the play a lot once you said like. I could tell, you were kind of tilted from that flush hand, and then that other hand. It looked like I actually thought you were just saying screw it with 10-7 suited or something. I was like, you look like you were, which later you told me you were kind of playing to that image a little bit.
yeah.
Good call, good acting. Because I know you, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Well, it's funny because how you can kind of play into that too, because there was a hand yesterday that you had where I had the complete wrong read on you too, even though I know you. So it's harder than it seems to read people.
Most every single person I talk to, and I'm like, I guess we could say semi-professional poker player at this point.
Yeah, dude who plays a lot. That's you.
Dude who plays a lot and is profitable, so we'll go semi. But everybody's like, oh, you look across the table and you can read and looking at their hands and their faces. I'm like, no, it's way more boring. You take a ton of small mathematical edges and you add them up together, and that's all you really do. The whole just looking into somebody's soul. Don't get me wrong, there are times for live reads, but for me, it's very rare, really.
For you, it's very rare. Yeah, I agree. You're way more math based. I think I do more live reads than you do and less math.
Oh, you and all my friends really that play poker, kind of. The one thing I will do is if I bet the flop and they legitimately look a little torn, a lot of times I will hammer the turn. And I've just started doing that. You can kind of tell if somebody, even that sometimes bites me in the ass, though. I've done this, and a lot of times I'll get away with it, but there's also times where I realize they weren't thinking about folding. They were thinking about if they should re-raise or not. So, That's sad when I've run into that.
Yeah, but that was basically the end of my session. I mean, not basically. It was the exact end of my session.
Yeah, you didn't look happy at the end of that session.
Yeah. Did you end up staying longer, or did you leave pretty quickly?
I ended up leaving pretty quickly. Or I guess what happened was I have been on a downswing and lately just gone on an upswing. I was up I was up quite a bit, and then someone came and sat right to my right and then to his right, and I don't know if they were good or bad, but they bought in super deep stacked. I was up enough that I was really happy with it, so I was like, well,
like you said, it only takes 2 minutes.
I mean, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes of a bad hand. And then on top of that, you can play perfectly and they just hit a random card for their other 2 pair or something like that. Or, get it in bad with a flush draw and hit. I was like, let me just can't call this as a good session or whatever.
And that's what also had tilted me, because I was counting my stack thinking like, oh, I should just leave. I'm up, not a lot, but I'm up almost a buy-in.
Yeah. I was up... I left probably about 3 1/3 buy-ins, nice. So I was pretty happy with that.
Nice. So then we end up going to 101 Richmond.
Yeah, so...
there's a lot in this one.
Yeah. So Houston has been like a big poker boom lately. And I've been trying to kind of mix it up just to give any business that I think does it right good business. So me and you decide, well, we haven't been to 101 in a bit. We'll go there.
Well, and to that note, I mean, I don't understand. Whenever other rooms close down and there's only one room in shop and or one room in town, and they start charging more money because they're the only place to play, and everyone acts shocked.
No.
I mean, what do you expect?
I mean, competition is great. Competition has been great for the players, but if the players don't add to the competition, very, very tough.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't look. And don't get me wrong, I found some really good games at Legends, which I guess has kind of become the new place to play in Houston.
Yeah.
But I do find like the most popular rooms have an Aria-like feel in Vegas. Everybody talks about the Aria. I tell you what, I can't think of one of the top 10 games I've been at, like as far as action and just players going crazy, being at Aria.
Yeah, right.
It's just constantly at the rooms that nobody thinks about, and it's just these random the deal. And I kind of get that at Legends a little bit. Like, I have some good games, but I also just have been at tables with a bunch of people just trying to grind a ton. And granted, you're paying less rake, so it's going to attract the good players. But not rake, time. But if I go and pay a little bit more, like Prime or something, and someone's, stacking off $700 with top pair shitty kicker, I don't know. That other $4 an hour might be worth it to me.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not even $4, isn't it? Just $2.
Well, I think Prime's at $12 an hour, unless they're having a special. So it's probably actually $6 if you do Legends specials.
Oh man, I don't even know what Legends specials are anymore. But
100 gets you double time. So if you
okay, gotcha.
It's $12 an hour, but you pay for 100 and you get double time. So it's super cheap to play there. I will still be playing there, but we decided to go 101 and give them some business.
So I need to go to Legends to buy some time because I was playing there because I still had a bunch of time.
It's
I mean, So you were playing before me. You had a giant bomb pot. I remember that.
Let me get here because it was kind of a weird. Let's see. Okay, so I kind of start out Ace King, and I make it 20 pre-flop. There's 3 callers, so 4 ways to the flop to Ace 6-7 with 2 hearts. I bet 50, get raised by someone who's a pretty big action player to 150. I keep talking about folding these hands, but this player is such an action player, and I've got kind of the top pair, top kicker. This could be ace queen, ace jack. I make the call. Turn is offsuit, no heart. I check, he checks, which I love. Because once he checks, like most things that would re-raise me that had me beat were definitely betting the turn. 9 of hearts on the river. I'm like, oh God, he just got the. I mean, re-raising the flush draw, checking to get the free card, and getting the flush. I'm like, God,
So, sounds pretty standard.
yeah. I was like, there's just no way I'm good here now. I check, he checks, and he shows ace queen, and I'm good.
Man, that river card saved him some money, huh?
I don't know. Like, that re-raise on the flop probably saved him some money. I probably should be... Yeah, on any other offsuit card, I probably should be betting for value here.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm so used to making this call for re-raise flop and just being no good.
Just seeing two pair. Flop two pair every time.
I mean,
flop set every time.
Yeah, it's a 2 pair or a set. So I actually built up a little bit of stack and then ran into a very... I don't know if it was a tough hand or I just played it. I don't know. This is very weird. Y'all can be the judge of how I played this.
Bad.
Probably right. King, jack of clubs. I make it 20. I get 3-bet to 40.
Okay, I was about to say fold, but I guess for a min click you're calling.
I mean,
Yeah,
for a
you're
min
calling.
click,
Okay.
yeah. I'm pretty much... If you min 3-bet me, I mean, I'm probably... There's nothing I'm raising with that I'm not calling there. I've got equity on something.
Yeah, I mean, just out of a respect thing, I'm calling.
Flop is good. King 9-7 with 2 diamonds. And I'm like, this is a pretty good flop for me, although ace king and king queen have me beat here. But then he leads out for 75, which is almost the entire pot. I feel like I can't fold because, I mean, I did flop top pair. I call. The turn is kind of connected, but nothing that should make a ton. I guess Jack 10. Turn is 8 off. He bets 125. I kind of tank for a while, because now this bet is actually smaller. But I'm like, what's he got? Am I stacking off with King Jack here, or what's going on? I mean...
Say, don't sack off with King Jack, please.
Yeah.
Say, don't do that.
I'm trying to go over. I'm like, ace, king, king, queen. And then, I mean, like, what am I hoping he has? I mean, king 10 is not 3-betting and not firing two streets here, I think. He shows, I fold, he shows a queen of diamonds. So, very likely he actually had ace, queen of diamonds, and I was probably good.
I mean, what about King Queen?
He could have had king queen. That was one of those things. But a lot of people don't 3-bet king queen. But I guess if you're min 3-bet, I don't know. He seems to be all like, just all. I mean, I thought he was pretty good. Like, you want to talk about live reads? Usually, for the most part, I don't play much into him. But this guy is kind of like a little bit on the youngish side, wearing the hoodie, playing really deep stacked, fairly aggressive. And I kind of thought he studied and knew what he was doing. And then as the session goes on, I realize I don't think this guy really knows that much about poker.
Oh, I mean, I've had that happen to me too, where I think someone is playing loose, and then I play with them for, more than a few orbits and realize that they're the tightest player on the table. And of course, I have sets of aces whenever I was playing with them.
Yeah, so the whole thing was kind of weird, but it really, you know how when you play one hand and you're not sure if you folded the right hand, or it just kind of gets stuck in your head and you end up kind of playing crappy afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah, that didn't happen here. I go on a massive upswing after this. I get ace jack. I make it 20 with 4 callers. I was like, of course. So 100 in the pot. Flop jack 7-3. I make it 45 and 2 call. And I'm like, well, I kind of wanted just 1 call here or whatever. Turn is an ace. Player checks. I make it 100. Another player raises me to 300. But I only have 100 left. Other player folds. I, of course, snap call. I'm not folding top 2 pair anytime here. And he has ace 10. And my ace jack is good.
Oh, very nice.
So I go up quite a bit from there. And I know these double board bomb pots are pretty tough on a podcast.
The toughest.
But this is probably the biggest pot I've played in a while, and kind of makes this makes this session. I get pocket kings in a double board bomb pot.
So you're crying whenever you first see your pocket kings.
I mean, like, I kind of like them, but yeah, you definitely would rather have them in a regular pot. But I end up flopping top set, which is the nuts, and an overpair to the other board. I bet 50, one call, and then there's all in for 150. I call, other player calls.
Do you ever think about repopping it there?
You know what?
I mean,
I'm wondering on these notes, because if I remember, I think I got these bet sizings wrong. I think the 150 is right. But I remember trying to bet, and it wasn't a full raise. I think I bet more than 50.
Oh, I was about to say, if you bet 50, you made it 150, you could raise.
No, I think I must have bet like 80 or something, and it wasn't enough to...
That seems weird that you would bet that much into that pot.
I don't remember. I do remember I tried to raise, and it just wasn't a legal raise. I do remember it was right.
Okay.
So maybe his all-in was for less, or my bet was
that
for
would make
more.
more sense. It is all-in was for less, rather than you were over-betting.
Yeah. I call, other player calls. So, I mean, now this is a gigantic board. I turn bottom boat on the other one. It pairs the 9. So I'm losing to only quad 9s, and there's a 9 on the top board, too. So I've got the stone cold nuts.
Yeah, wait, so that wouldn't be bottom boat, would it? It's a bottom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I told top boat on the bottom board.
It's just like, that's the farthest thing from bottom boat I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. No. Oh, yeah. No.
like,
okay, these stone cold nuts, as I should have said. Yeah, like I say, these double board bomb pots are tough on a podcast. And I turn a gut shot on the top board.
Okay.
So now I've got the top overpair and gut shot. I go all in for 432 more. He calls. I then river the straight on the top board, and obviously I have the nuts on the bottom. Nothing changed, and scoop this gigantic pot, which, I mean, and then run great for the rest of the session too. So it was just a gigantic hit.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Then I showed up after that.
Yeah. You show up. It looks like I bought in for way more than I did, because so it's come in, and I mean, it was probably one of the best tables I've been at in a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that.
Because me and you come in, and the table's pretty good, but then a couple people leave, and then we're playing like 6-handed, and me and you will. I mean, we don't sit there and want to just sit there and take each other's money all night, and so a lot of times we'll leave and go to a table. But the guy to your left was literally pouring money into every pot, regardless of what he had. The guy to my right, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Does not seem to be even real certain of what the rules are or what's going on.
Oh yeah, he was extremely new, but had kind of a lot of money.
Yeah, and the other best players, if you wanted to look at the other best players on the table, I mean, I couldn't 3-bet all night because nobody raised. Everybody limp folded every flop unless they just hit.
Yeah, you're funny. You're like, the other best players at the table were the fish from last night.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, he was by far probably one of the better players at that table.
Yeah, so
it's so yeah, it was I mean, I don't know. The entire thing was just super. I couldn't pick a better lineup to play.
Yeah, like I said, this is going on. You go ahead and shoot me a call. Don't text. I mean, so basically I go, I sit down, very first hand I get dealt, king, queen offsuit. I raise to probably 20. I get like 3 callers, 60 in there. The flop comes king high with 2 hearts. I'm like, all right, well. So I continue betting. I bet I think I bet 50. I bet 50. Got called by one person. The flush draw bricks the return. And I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, what's calling me here that could call, big bet on the pre-flop, big bet on the flop. So I was thinking 75. I was like, you know what? I need to charge the flush draw fully. So I made it 100. He calls the 100. I'm in position as well. The river brings the flush in, the front door flush, and then he donks 100.
Oh, God. This is such a...
Yeah. So I just folded.
Right.
And then I was kind of annoyed because I'd only brought enough money for one buy-in. And now I have $200. And you're sitting there with like what seems like $1 million on my right. And everyone else has, just under what you have. And I'm sitting here with $200. So I was like, well, here we go.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up going, I was like, whenever I saw people stack off, I forgot what they had, but it was some crazy hand. I was like, I need to go to the ATM. It was like, I don't know.
If there's ever a game you need to go for the ATM for, it was definitely this one. I agree.
So I add on, I guess we'll talk about that hand. You agree with that fold or?
I agree with that fold. I think like low limit poker is so under bluffed. I mean, you literally can just put people on whatever they are representing for the most. I mean, and don't get me wrong, you're not going to be right most of the time, but in the long term, you're going to be just printing money.
Or no, you mean you're not going to be right every time, but over the long term, you're going to be right most of the time.
That's what I say.
The opposite.
Okay. Whatever you said, that's what I meant.
Yeah, you told me I'm not going to be right most of the time, but over the long term, I'll be good. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Okay, yeah, no, you read my thoughts at least.
I was like, wait, what? Okay, so I folded that one. I get in kind of a weird hand with 9-10, where I flop trips, but that guy who was super new, who was turning over like Jack 3 and all that kind of stuff, he bet very small, but there was a flush draw on board, and I was like, well, I need to raise this to charge, because we can't continue for 30, which is like 1/5 pot or whatever it was. It was so small.
Right.
So I raised to basically put him all in, but not enough to where if he does go all in, it reopens the action.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it 100. He had like 100 and some change. Everyone else folds. He calls. He has 10 jack. So that was kind of sad for me.
Yeah, I mean, to lose out one on the kicker was definitely a tough one.
That was kind of, I mean, whenever I did it, I knew better 10s are probably, that's what I'm really going to get called by. But I didn't want to let these other flush draws see it for free. And then this guy could have 10 deuce legitimately because he was playing just anything.
Yeah.
He could have had bottom 2 pair and not even realize that he was losing, that he had been counterfeited.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, when you had the full house to his flush, he didn't, I mean, it took a good, 4 or 5 minutes to explain, like, that you had the winning hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, 100%. It's a, I don't know. It was definitely, I think it was a good raise for that table. I think, like, other tables, maybe not, but I don't know. That table, like, you're getting called by only, like, better 10s a lot of times. At this table, I don't know. You might be, any worse 10s is definitely calling you.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, actually, I'm a little nervous because they might just be re-raising all in at that point. So, yeah, I kind of like this. I mean, it would make it a lot easier if the bet sizing was right, because I'd probably prefer just a call if it was a good bet sizing. But when somebody does this, I mean, I ended up in a similar situation when I'd pocket 9s and raised and got a bunch of callers. And then you let out for 25 into like a pot of like 100.
20.
Was it 20?
Yeah.
And then it's like call. And I'm sitting here with pocket 9s, 8 high board.
I had 7-8.
So I'm like, man, I don't love re-raising here, but I mean, if anybody has me beat, they should have already raised. And I mean, like, this is going to get real dicey with all these overcards and, 3 other people in the pot. So I raise it to 100, I believe.
Yep, it was 100.
And you fold, the other one folds, another guy folds, another one calls. Never good to see that call. And I forget what the turn is, but I think no, it goes check, I think, on the turn. And then the river comes, and it didn't change anything, and she checks again. And I go ahead and bet 75. I was looking for super light calls from an 8.
Oh, I remember this because the other guy was in it, and then she went all in behind him before he acted. Then they told her it's out of turn. Then she pulled her money back. He folds. Then she only calls.
Yeah. And she calls and has pocket queens and starts talking massive stuff to that guy next to her. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna have 2 overpairs, and if you're gonna limp call queens the entire time, I hope you win some pots. Because I need you at this table way more often. But yeah, when you're playing at these tables where they don't really take bet sizing into consideration, it kind of puts you in weird spots.
Yeah, it sure did. I ended up folding. I flopped a queen high flush and ended up folding. It was second nuts at the time.
Ooh, I remember this.
I folded on the turn whenever the board paired, and when I bet and got raised, called.
Yeah, your bet got raised, and then called. I don't know. I think this is so super close. I think when you're getting raised and called, because at first I was like, this is a horrible fold, because I was like, that guy who calls never has you beat. But later I was like, well, if he has a boat, he really, like a top boat or something, he never has to really raise here. He can just call. I was like, maybe you should be. It's a tough one, but you would have lost. You had the best hand, and then the other guy rivered the boat.
Yeah. That's poker right there. So
I think that was a really interesting spot. I don't know.
Talk about a roller coaster of emotion. I went from thinking for sure I'm going to win to now I don't know if I'm going to win to now I'm folding before seeing all the cards.
Yeah, that's a really tough one because everybody there was not really. I don't know. I think you could justify anything. I think at a table where everybody's very with it with their hands and pots to their hand size, it's probably a fold. At that table, who the hell knows?
Happy I was right that time though.
Yeah.
It wasn't right in the exact moment that I made the fold, but it was right on the river.
Yeah.
The most results oriented, but I needed it.
Well, because if you make that call there, he jammed. He had with that boat
10 jack, yeah.
You're kind of committed depending on I don't know how big that pot was going to be, but would not have been good for you.
Yeah. And then basically just to sum up my session real quick is I rivered a boat on some guy's nut flush and got paid. It was the guy who barely knew the rules, so don't want the podcast to be me just beating up some guy who just started playing poker, so we'll just skim over it. Basically, I hit. He had the ace high flush draw. I hit the gin card. I had pocket jacks on a paired board. That the jack of hearts came to give him the ace high flush, but give me jacks full of nines.
Because you were going for you were open ended.
I flopped open ended.
Yeah,
and then board paired on the turn. Flush came in on the river, but it was also gave me jacks full of nines. So that was.
Tyler's I'm a very profitable player when there's people at the table who are unaware of the rules or anything.
Yeah. So, that was basically it. And just super happy to lock up a win. Very happy I added on. And yeah, just nice to get a win at some point.
Yeah, that was really good. I was good to have a very good session. I think, let me see, 10. I think 5 buy. I ended up 5 buy-ins.
That's a great session.
Yeah.
If anything, you should be buying breakfast. But what was I gonna say? But just before we, this one's kind of going kind of long. I just want to talk about a few things at the end. You remember how I did that bomb pot, or I suggested doing a bomb pot late at night?
Yeah, the last hand of the session. We were
No. Even before that.
That's true. You said it was you said it's been 30 minutes. You want to do a bomb pot.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, I hate bomb pots.
I mean, nothing's been more shocking to me than when I heard you mention that.
But my whole thing is, when people are dumping money at the table and they want to do bomb pots, it's going to make their 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're also the ones keeping the game going. I told them, we're going to do a bomb pot, and none of you guys are going to say a word.
That is, yeah, 100%. That was such a good move to kind of, keep the guy that was really, keeping the game very action-oriented and everything, keeping him happy. I didn't realize what you were doing at the moment, but later when you told me, I was like, God, that is super good idea, super savvy.
Yeah, so, I mean, definitely thought that was worth doing. And then I guess, how funny was it to see that one guy talk about how the guy who's just calling everything with, like, nothing, not raising, calling with nothing, makes this call for a giant amount of money because his hand twitched.
Okay, this goes, there's a little deal. So, this guy has just been complaining nonstop about he's getting bad beat or whatever. Well, he's playing horrible cards.
I was about to say, yeah, his big hand was Jack 4 suited. So.
I mean, if you're put yourself in horrible pre-flop situations, they're going to end up in bad post-flop. But the guy, it ends up with 3 aces on the board, and he has pocket kings.
Okay, this is a whole different hand. But okay, go. Yeah,
but this is what led to that.
Right, this is definitely an important hand. I forgot all about this.
Well, the guy ends up checking the river, and he's like, well, I can't. He's like, you checked the nuts and all that and everything. He's like, I can't even bet here. He has 150 behind and like a $300 pot. I mean, this is a automatic shove. I mean, if you have top boat and you lose to quads, guess what? Your day to lose. And then a guy mentions it, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not sitting there teaching. I mean, I kind of had to hold myself back, but I'm like, I'm not about to go and start teaching these people how to play. But I mean, and they kind of get into it and like about this hand. So later, the guy who's a really action-oriented, keeping playing, calling top pair for gigantic amounts.
Oh, right. Remember, I shoved all in with Jack 8 suited on the flop top 2 pair. I don't even know what he had.
Yeah.
I mean, $400 on the flop, and he just had nothing in calls.
Oh, yeah. So this guy, they get into a fairly decent-sized hand. The guy gets all in who checked the kings, who's kind of playing very suspect cards pre-flop. And I forget what he had. Did he have a...
Jack 4 of spades. I remember what he had.
Did he have a boat?
He had a flush.
He had a flush, okay. He goes all in. The other guy kind of tanks for a while and calls. And this guy gets up and starts going crazy. Like, you saw my handshake. That's why you called. See, I'm like, I know what I'm doing and everything. And this guy, he just folds. He folds his 2 pair. I'm like, this guy has been calling down super light all day. It has nothing to do with you acting like you're handshaking. I mean, I don't know. I was like, this table's just too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, that was... so crazy, though. I mean, it's a tough... it was a weird situation to describe, too, so...
I mean, it was... between that situation, what was it, that woman getting, like, pissed that we were raising, and then the guy who's giving all the action in the game, she starts yelling at him and stuff, and then he's like, I don't speak English. We've been playing with this guy for, 7 hours?
Yeah, at that point, 7 hours, yeah.
I tell you what, and she's like, I know you speak English. I've heard it. If this guy spoke decent English, then I can say Tom Hanks needs to take all of his Academy Awards, drag them right to this guy's doorstep, and just lay them on the front porch. Because this guy was dedicated to the goddamn role.
Yeah, I mean, if he knew English, he would not be in all these horrible spots confused on what's going on with the action and the bet sizing and stuff.
I mean,
for 8 hours straight. Just confused, huh?
I mean, It seems like he knew, like a word here and there, but that was it. I mean, not conversational at all. I was like, I don't know what's going on up in here.
Yeah, but I mean, nice to squeak out a win there. So that was nice, and yeah, you hit big. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's very nice. I'm like, I mean, I've gone on a pretty decent sized upswing, and I mean, here's how decent the upswing is the cash games has gone up $1.50 an hour over the last 3 sessions. That does not seem like a lot, but it's over 1,000 hours. So for 3 sessions to budge my hourly is pretty big, actually.
Oh, absolutely. But I guess on that note, this will be the end of the Texas Poker Podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.